All right, welcome to the CCW Safe Podcast. I'm Mike Darter. I'm here with Stan Campbell. Today is our 13th anniversary. That's right. So we're going to have a talk. I know Kent had come up with some questions that he wanted. Kent Brown's our president. Some of you may know him, have dealt with him through email, so forth. He's done an amazing job for us. And again, this is our 13th year, so we're going to start out with just kind of some questions to kind of get some of the background on the company and us and go forward. So Kent, you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, I think it'd be good for everybody to know how you two guys met.
Oh, wow.
Before the start.
May
I'll
I?
go first.
No, you go first. No, you go first. So, always trying to be the leader. Go. Go.
So 1990.
Yes.
1990, probably 1991, I'd applied in 1990 for the Oklahoma City Police Department, and it takes the process is pretty lengthy. It takes about 6 months to a year. At that time, there were probably 1,500 applicants for 50 positions.
That's correct. Yes.
So it was very competitive, and I was in my senior year of college at OU, applied. And made it all the way through, surprisingly to myself, to the last interview with the chiefs and the chief and deputy chiefs. And I walk into the office and I look, and there's this guy sitting here. He's in a suit, and I'm looking at him. The whole time it was so competitive. I didn't think that I was going to get hired. I was like, I'm going to have to come back and try again. I was young and didn't have any experience. And I see this guy sitting in his stand, and I'm like, man, this guy's going to take my job.
That's right. Now, tap in. So, I'm fresh out of New Jersey, moved to Oklahoma. I worked actually as an EMT for 2 years in Jersey. So I got a little taste of servicing people and, emergencies, and moved down to Oklahoma. And like Mike said, went through it really was a long process. And I show up in I didn't have a suit. I borrowed the recruiter's suit jacket. And at the time I was like 165 pounds maybe, soaking wet. And he was probably a 300-pound man. So I had a big old suit jacket on. And, I'm there, and I sit down, and I know, it's getting pretty close to the cut. And I look across and I see this perfect specimen of a man. And I'm like, he's going to take my job. So we actually had the same thought. And we both went in and luckily, made it through. Mm-hmm. We made it through, and we ended up in the same academy. And that was actually the next time we saw each other. It was probably about 3 months later.
It was about 3 months later.
Yes, we started on June 14th, right?
Yes.
June 14th, 1991. We started the academy together, and then when I saw him, I was like, that's that guy.
Yeah, same thing, yeah.
And so we started on our journey together. The process of going through an actual police academy was pretty difficult. A lot of information crammed into your mind, and just a whole lot to go through. And then fast forward to when we made it onto the streets, he and I had somewhat of a parallel career, ending up in some of the same, units, because he worked at a street crime unit, and so did I at different times in our lives. But we remained friends, and like best friends. Early on, we started our first business together back in '93. We actually were doing, we did
T-shirts.
We did T-shirts, so we did, it's called Pigskin Designs. We, so that's kind of when we started our partnership. So from there, we kind of moved on, had great careers. Some things happened, a couple of challenges that really brought us closer together as well, which was the bombing for me in 1995. The Murrah building, truck exploded, and I was across the street in the federal courthouse. Mike worked it, with the team that followed up. And then a year later, Mike had his own challenge that I let him talk about.
Yeah. That was actually the beginning of this company, and that was, years later. But '96. It was May of '96. No, it was April 6th of '96, right before the bombing memorial. I was on the street. It was a plainclothes street unit. I worked one part of town. Stan later worked another part of town in that same unit. But we ran warrants, and it was pretty much a narcotics team. And that when I had a raid that we ran and ended up getting a shooting. And in that warrant, we ended up killing 2 individuals, and it was a good warrant. I mean, I remember after sitting there, it took so long to process that scene. And I was at home, and I was like, man, what are you waiting to hear? And we got tons of drugs, guns, money out of that warrant. But I got sued 2 years later, got sued in federal court. They were going punitive against me and another officer. So that was a very stressful time. But because I was a member of the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, they paid for everything. I didn't have to worry about hiring an attorney. And, even then, we were in court. Back then, we were in court
A lot.
weekly, if not, several days a week. We were always having pre-trials and trials, and but even then, I didn't really know much about the civil side. I didn't know any civil attorneys. I didn't really know any attorneys other than the ones that we worked with directly at the DA's office. So, they paid for all that. They paid for all the expert witnesses to come in, investigators, all that. So, and then, that's what was the founding, that was the key founding part of this company. Years later, in 2011, when I left the ATF, and you were about kind of getting close to retirement, that was when I really realized, wow, I don't have any coverage anymore. Like I don't have a fraternal order of police behind me or any other organization. And so that's when I talked to Kyle Sweet, who was another, lifelong friend, which later on we became stepbrothers, and, met with him and said, hey, I need some kind of coverage because I'm worried about this. I've already been sued once. You establish a little bit of wealth, and it's not going to take much these days for people to find that, to see what house you live in, through county tax websites, so forth. And I had young kids, and I was gonna carry, so I reached out to Kyle, and 3 days later he called back and said, man, there's nothing out there that's going to give us the comfort level and protection level that we're used to.
Yes.
So that was the founding of that, and that was August of 2011 when we started. And it took a while. It took us about 6 months to a year to really kind of get the framework done and all that infrastructure. So
just to jump in real quick, and I'm gonna go back to something that Mike was, because he kind of lays out the story, because he told the story so much in the past 13 years. But there's some key points about what he said. Although we were police officers, and Mike kind of fast forward to the civil side of it, a stressor as well is being cleared as a justified shooting, like you guys go through. So, that too, when someone questions your actions, when you know in your heart that it's a self-defense incident, Mike too had to go through that initial stress of, will this be cleared, which they felt it was fine, but there was still some question about the second shooting with your partner, right?
Yeah, at that time, it took about 3 months for them to clear us. And that's a good point. I really didn't think about that, but
because it was I was on the SWAT team, right? And there was Mike was on the application process with SWAT team. Somebody was trying to hold that up because of his shooting. He went through the self-defense program that I ran. You know, we kind of got him into that, but there was still some stress, you know, with, you know, the spotlight being, you know, shined upon you, and, you know, knowing that, you know, it still is a homicide that has to be justified, you know, deemed justifiable.
Yeah, and it's a perception of what, and that's what it always comes down to, is a perception of someone else. And it may be somebody that, it may be somebody in of authority, in power somewhere, or it may be just somebody that saw something, you know, a different way, or they saw it after it happened and didn't really understand. They didn't see what led up to it or something like that. And that's what a lot of time we see in our cases when, you know, we have members get into something, you know, somebody may see something and perceive it some way. You have 5 people that view something and it's always different. And yeah, it took probably 3 months and it was all just because of one deputy chief's
That's right.
kind of the way he looked at it, the way he took at it on paper.
Yes.
And even that
someone
was,
that hasn't been on the streets in forever.
oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and even that, it took about 3 months. I remember getting letters from Bob Macy, who was the district attorney for Oklahoma County, and he was an amazing district attorney. He sent letters to the chief that citing Chief Rehnquist decisions from the Supreme Court saying you got to put these guys back to work, and you know, it still took him 3 months to do that.
That's right. And then, you know, the other thing that, like I said, this is so comfortable for us, you know, talking about this, and that's the importance of experience. You know, we as officers, I mean, because in the street crime unit, like I did about 700 or so drug raids. Mike probably did the equivalent a little bit more with the gang unit as well, because, and so we spent a lot of time in court, like Mike said, on, you know, on the side, in the witness stand, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, he too, and I kind of brushed across mine, because my situation, I was in the federal court, but I was getting sued for use of force. And it was my first time, you know, being in that situation where, you know, when the judge says, will the defendant please stand? And I'm looking at the other guy, because I'm used to that. And it's like, whoa, I'm the defendant. So it's like, this is terrible. You know, but it's a horrible position to be in when, you know that you did the right thing, and someone's questioning you and making you the bad guy. You know, it's a very volatile, you know, the criminal justice system. You know, we've been on both sides of it. You know, now we defend, you know, good citizens. But, you know, being on both sides of that, you know, and you know, the beauty of CCW Safe, the model, you know, a lot of things that had to come up as well is, and Mike didn't mention it yet, but it's the way that the police department and the union, everybody put their arms around you. That peer support is a very important element, because, you know, it's unnatural to take a human life. And when you do it, even as a policeman, there's things that happen. You know, there was some second guessing that went on with Mike and his partner. You know, no matter what, there were some memory gaps, correct? Right? There's a lot of things that happen during that process that we build into the model of CCW Safe to protect you guys. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a complete, it's not just one, it's just not one thing. It's a whole, you know, house of kind of services.
Yes.
Even from the FOP. You know, you have everybody from, you know, the chaplain who comes out immediately, and other officers, peer support, and then, you know, all the way, you know, through the investigation, past the investigation. So it's a, you know, it's a whole bundle, and there's a lot to go with that.
There's a lot to go with. So, like, you know, it would be nice if you just could use a super lawyer, but you need more than just an attorney on retainer. You need, you know, all these different components in this, you know, a team to work for you. But anyway, we can go on forever, but we're going to let Kent go in with the next question.
You guys are hitting on it already, but really, what was the mission when you set out to start the company? Was it really that police model and level of care? Or, you know,
Can I jump in real quick on that?
Yeah.
See, because we stuck to the police model, but, you know, what people don't understand is that when you're involved in, and, you know, I was so lucky in my career that I came close about 10 times, but never pulled the trigger, thank God. You know, but I knew a lot of people, because as a supervisor, I had to work those cases, and I had a lot of friends that were involved in self-defense shootings. Well, when you're involved in that as a policeman, like, no one ever realizes it. You do all this training and stuff and you get ready for this violent encounter. Like, we tease violent encounters all the time because we see them more often. But what happens in the real world is that policemen are treated like a victim of a violent encounter. Citizens are treated like a suspect. So when Mike came up with this brilliant idea to start CCW Safe, although it was for us in retirement initially, and we were concentrating on retired officers, when he made the decision and we did collectively to start covering nationally citizens, it's because they too get pulled into this bad situation where you had to defend your life, and now you had to defend your freedom and your financial stability. And the mission there, I would say, was to actually bring forward the same, response and resources and care and legal attention that we received as policemen, and spill that over to citizens that actually deserve it as well when they get involved in a self-defense shooting. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember there was one thing specifically. I remember going to Walmart with, I think I had two of my daughters, and they were young at the time. And I remember, I can't remember he worked there, or there was a guy at Walmart that I saw. It was a guy who is a gang member that I'd arrested multiple times, put in prison, and that's kind of the thing that was the one kind of moment that I was like, wow, and it hit me because I had my daughters there, and we had gotten to a point at that time where we had accumulated a little bit of wealth, and I had my kids, and I was like, man, like, I don't have an FOP anymore to be able to step in and do that, because it's like I'm a citizen now.
Yes.
There was a funny story, I think it was Bill Booth told a story one time when he told a story about retiring. He said, here's what it's like to retire as a police officer. You go in, you get all your certificates, and they give you a plaque and give you a party and eat your cake, and you go outside and there's a ticket on your car.
That's right.
And you're now a citizen.
That's right.
And you have to go pay that ticket. Yeah. And it was like, realizing that, you don't have, and what all you could lose, if I got into something not having that. And that was the real thing, because it is exactly like you said. Everybody, police officers are treated a different way, than citizens. At the time of my shooting, at that time, they didn't do the 2 sleep cycles before you did a report. They went ahead and took a report right after, but they allowed me a week later or several days later to come in and review that and make sure everything was right. Well, a citizen's not going to be able to do that.
Correct.
A citizen's not going to be able to do that. A citizen's not going to be, most of the time, awarded 2 sleep cycles.
That's right.
Before a report's made. So yeah, there's a lot of little things that, going back through our careers, like you said, you've worked tons of officer-involved shootings as a supervisor, and there's things that we see and that have seen, over the years that a lot of people don't really think about.
Yeah, you're right.
Awesome. So, we'll fast forward. You kind of get the company started. Like, when did you realize you were on something that was different?
Let me jump first. So initially, I have to say, well, I'll say this. We really took our time, because Mike said, and Mike was right, we couldn't find anything out there that served you in the way that we got served as policemen.
In a response.
In the response and the resource and all of it. Well, we took about a year really to do our research and decide on what would be the best model. There were a couple of models out there. They were reimbursement models that they only covered firearms. And, we got ourselves together and said, you know what, why not make it just like it is when we're on the streets, where any weapon that you can, find to defend your life, we cover, down to, or you can say up to, physical force. to defend your life, because sometimes policemen, they might have a flashlight or whatever, a weapon of opportunity. So we chose to cover that. So the way that we kind of did this, like we disrupted the industry, and they thought we were crazy. And the other thing to that, with policemen, and with the union and the city behind you, we don't have to worry about resource money. So the money doesn't end. There's not stoppage. So the models that are out there before, we saw that they capped off their criminal defense, which, oh, you can't do that. And we were like, oh my God, okay, we're gonna go unlimited, no caps on civil and criminal defense. And that was like unheard of. In the industry, they said, oh my God, this is too good to be true. No, it's good. And it was true. And we did it. And it was important to build a model that was similar to what we had as policemen to make it strong.
Yeah, people thought we were crazy.
They did.
For doing it. But that's the deal. I think we knew the risk better than, people outside of law enforcement. And I think it proved we knew the risk better than the insurance models that were out there.
That's right.
I think the one thing when we finally realized that this thing was gonna go, like you said, it took about a year. I built the website, all the e-commerce, so that took a while. We launched it, and
we started testing the market. You remember we used to call it 2 tickets to the gun show, because Mike and I would go down and get a little booth, and it'd just be the two of us. Now, Kyle was doing his lawyer thing at the time, and we were testing the market, in 2011, and even 2012, and slowly building some followers, getting our name out there. Mostly the Dallas shows, and some of the others went to California. Went to California, and it was just us in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then something happened.
Yeah, I think it's like 2014.
2013.
2013.
George Zimmerman was going on.
Yeah,
remember?
That's right.
And we were sitting there watching Don West, who now works with us, but watching him go through the trial, and we had the thought, said, hey, everyone is watching this. I mean, like the Zimmerman trial in that era had the same attention that the OJ trial had back in its time. So it had national and international attention. Everyone was watching, and Mike came up with the great idea, to market right now, and we put out our first XM radio.
We did XM radio, yeah, and that was the moment that when we did that first ad.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal for us back then, because it was a lot of money for I think we had to do 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, man, this is like, we're gonna have to put a lot into this. It's kind of a big leap of faith. And I remember signing off, and the first day it ran, the next day I woke up, our website was shut down.
Yes. Because of the traffic.
We had so many members. We've been flooded with members. I remember I called Stan. I said, come pick me up. He came pick me up. We drove to Dallas. I said, we're driving to Dallas. We drove to Dallas and had lunch, 3-hour drive, drove back. By the time we got back, we had a call center set up. We had and at the time, he picked me up. I was like, what are we going to do? Like, this is crazy. And, but, by the end of that day, we had everything set up. The website was back up pretty quick. But that was the first big moment when we both, all of us were kind of like, wow, that's.
We knew we created a monster, and a beautiful monster it was.
And we ran those for quite a while, and then we got to a point where we couldn't run them. They weren't allowing us to run. They weren't allowing us to run because they considered us in the firearms industry. And that's another big challenge we came to, I think it was in 2016 or 17. We actually, I remember it was either January 1st or 2nd, first of the year, I came into work, and all of our money had been frozen. And it was our credit card company, the credit card processing. Yeah. Shut us down. That was kind of during that kind of Obama era where they were really cracking down on firearms, ammunition, all the companies that were using banking, and that was a huge challenge too, because 99% of our business was done online with credit cards. I mean, we still have some people that send in checks, you know, every once in a while, but the majority of all of our members go online, they sign up, and you know, I remember when that happened, they basically told us, you know, you pay us this
Yeah.
amount of money,
They held us
and
hostage.
you know, we'll reinstate you, or you can, you know, we're going to cancel you. And I remember calling other credit card companies, and you know, the first conversation be like, oh yeah, we can do that, we can get you, and then you know, you talk to them a little bit more, and it's like, okay, exactly, well, what do you guys do? So when I tell them, oh yeah, we can't do that, and I think we got turned down by like 2 or 3 other companies,
Yeah, we did.
before we found EMS, and EMS was great because EMS was kind of targeting the firearms industry, and you know, they really, you know, came through for us back then, and that was probably, you know, the first big moment when we realized, wow, okay, this is going. But and then that other was the first big moment when it was like, okay, is this going to last? Are we like, how do you do
How do you deal
that
with the
if
challenge
you
of
can't
it?
take
Yeah.
online payments?
That's right.
And you know, it's still a concern. You know, we haven't had any problems, but I can't say that it's not a concern for me, for us, or anybody else in the firearms industry. So.
Very good. So after the growth in 2013 and then the challenge there, what was the next big thing that happened to the business? And
I'm going to say that the piggyback of what Mike said when the politics of it all attacked banking and credit card processing, we had to find a solution, you know, for our members, and that's kind of when we, you know, started visiting the thought of having a captive insurance company and our own insurance company, because we saw that the other competitors that were out there, and there was still at that time maybe about 4 people in the space. You know, they started doing picket lines and stuff, you know, going after their third-party insurance partners. And so we knew, you know, I said, okay, let's be smart about this. I said, okay, we don't want that to happen, for them to shut us down, because, you know, these large companies, they have this big book of business, and this is their firearms insurance groups. So they were vulnerable. So we chose to go with captive insurance, which again, it was another move in the industry to disrupt, because to us, you know, by thinking about it, okay, this is the most sound way to deal with customers, not making them part of a policy,
Right.
making CCW safe the policy holder, and allowing them to be the beneficiary or membership plans. And that challenge there, and that step that we took, again, they thought we were crazy. You know, a lot of people were looking at us and saying, okay, what's that? And that's not going to work. And then when it got challenged again, because I think there was a, you know, the large, you know, group that came into the space, they modeled themselves not like us. And for that reason, everyone else started getting attacked and challenged by a lot of these states, and we were able to stand strong with our captive.
Yeah, I think it was 16, 17, Chubb shut down a lot of the other insurance programs that
They
were
did.
going on, a lot of the other insurance companies. And, you know, I had learned personally about captives probably about 2015.
Yeah.
And that's when it was brought to me as a thing to kind of look at for something else. And I was like, oh, wow, wait, this seems like this would be perfect for CCW Safe. And then Kyle got into it, kind of put him on it. And then 2017 is when we actually
Started covering members.
yeah, we finalized our captive. We started financing the captive. And that one thing, you know, I remember the ad we put out back then because it gave us freedom. It gave us freedom from all this stuff that was going on during that time. Under Obama, there was so much going on with the banking, you know, shutting down. They were really going after ammunition companies, firearms companies, and the insurances. It was murder insurance. They had quoted
They attacked it, yeah.
murder insurance, and so Chubb, a lot of the other companies were shutting down or closing that off, and it really gave us the freedom to do whatever we wanted to do because we had control of that.
Yes.
And looking back, that was the single most, the one thing we did that secured us our entire
lifetime.
future.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
It's to the point now that captive has grown so much. Yeah, it's for a lifetime. I mean,
That's right.
we're not
We're
don't
not
have
going
to
anywhere.
worry about that.
And then I have to swing back because we talked about our the amazing work we did forming the captive and finding a model to protect you guys. But I have to swing back to our true next challenge, which was an amazing thing eventually, but it was 2015 when we got our first shooting incident that a member was charged with murder, the Steven Maddox case.
Yeah.
And that was the first one in the industry. That's why it was significant. Regardless that some of these organizations had us by 8 and 10 years that they've been around with their reimbursement models, none of their members were ever charged with murder and had to go through a murder trial. So we had the first. So we were actually proving the industry with the Steven Maddox case.
Yeah.
And again, like we looked at it and we were like, you know what? We're going all in. And like we really pushed all of our resources. Like we didn't. I mean, there's never a need to hold a dollar, but you want to make sure we knew, give them the best defense that money could buy, and that's what we did.
It was a great case. I mean, it was there couldn't have been a better incident. Somebody retreating twice in a stand your ground state and still getting charged with murder. I mean, it was an incredible case. Steven Maddox, like all of our members, he was an incredible guy.
Yes.
He was just, and it was the first case in the industry, which, and it was the first case that really, showed the industry actually what happens.
Yeah, and how to do it.
And like I said, we knew better than anybody else during that time because of our backgrounds, the risk of all this. And, we knew the price because of Kyle, Kyle dealing with catastrophic cases. We knew the cost of a trial of that. We knew the cost of experts. I mean, I had an expert, Chuck Higbee out of LAPD was the expert in my case. I knew the expert. We had an investigator. I knew the elements. And then, between all of us, and then especially when Gary came on, being able to have all that in hand. And Gary, I think, had just come on during that time.
Yeah.
And so it really showed the industry. The industry was calling us crazy.
Yeah.
The industry was like, yeah, they can't do that. In fact, there were ads going off saying it's so irresponsible for them to do this because, they're going to lose everything. That was a case that showed the industry what the cost of a catastrophic case should be. And it's not a dollar amount. It's not like going to be this dollar amount, but it's going to be from this range to this range.
That's correct.
And another thing is that any case, it's going to be over 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
We knew how to phase out the resources and know that we could sustain, because he didn't go for his trial until late 2017. That's the reason why we kind of skipped over it, because 2017 was the trial. But it proved. We had the only response element, and it proved, like in 2015, that actually worked, and what we thought would work as we do it for police officers. The response is so important. Sending somebody out there to be boots on the ground. No one had that, and no one has that, to date. So.
And the important thing to remember too is we did not have the captive at that time.
That's right.
Steven was not covered under the captive.
No.
And we were still able to
finance it
easily.
That's
right. And we put everything we could into it, and that's an important thing to realize now that we have the captive. I mean, it's so much easier now with the captive to do what we did then, and we could do multiple cases, and it's just that the history shows it's just not the likelihood of that happening is so,
That's true.
such a low risk.
And the last thing before we move on to the next question, it also, it gave us true understanding that our process works. Even if the member made some mistakes, we can step in because we know we have the experience of knowing where the holes are in the system. For instance, like, Steven, he was given a no bond. That means that you can't get out of jail. Well, that would have kept him in jail for 2 years. Well, we knew that there was a window, within the first week or so that you can put the case together, challenge it, and we sent Don West out there and working with the local attorney, which is also very important, work with the local attorney, and you push for a bond hearing. So he would have stayed in jail for 2 years. We got him out in 1 week. So doing those things, like he spoke to the police when he should not have. He gave a 3-hour interview. He didn't have it, and Mike understands. He had brain fog, did not give the proper, information to the officers, which in the future makes it seem like you're lying, but it's all the information you have. So we were able to help him out through that process, help out the attorneys, and really push forward with the situation to get the acquittal. But anyway, next question, sir.
Awesome. So you spent time talking about the services and the coverage. When did you guys start working on like the education and training element? Because most of the members thankfully don't get into a serious incident.
I mean, that was pretty early on too.
It was.
I mean, we started, I think one of the first things we learned was that if we could provide good information to our members on our website, that we could get people to the site.
Yes.
And, by doing that, your conversion rates are so much higher than trying to just sell. And that was, and the industry at that time was sell.
Yeah.
It was all on sales. You get a free gun if you do this. And we kind of started out ours with articles. We did weekly articles, and we put together, over 4 weeks, we put a series of articles together. And then, when we hired Don and then Sean West came on, that was...
Sean Vincent.
Yeah, Sean Vincent. That was
Next
instrumental.
level.
And so we've always had either podcasts or articles. That's kind of been, I think that's kind of a fundamental, one of the fundamental bases of foundations of CCW Safe.
And the importance of what Mike's talking about is the fact that, there were plenty of organizations out there that gave target training, tactics and all that, but no one was in the space where we were experts, which is the aftermath of a shooting.
Yeah.
And avoidance, avoidance, de-escalation. Before de-escalation became a word, we were pushing that out with our articles and case studies and really trying to keep our members understanding that you are your own worst enemy and you're also your first line of defense. Everything you do prior to, during, and after an incident can have you digging yourself out of this legal hole that some might not be able to, get out of, because there's a lot of people that are innocent that are in prison, and even those who that have been involved in self-defense shootings. And it was important for us to have that and just know our space. It's like we don't need to come up with all this other stuff and be silly and try to push forward in a place that we're not comfortable. We were comfortable in the true aftermath of the shooting because this is about homicides. This is about charges. This is about prison. And that's our comfort zone. So we made sure that our members get the information they need to keep them out of trouble. So it's really as a unit, as a caring group, as an organization and company, we push forward as the most responsible in our space to deliver information you need to stay out of prison.
Awesome. And so that gets us out of the teens. We get to 2020. We have social unrest and riots. So that was probably the next phase.
That was everyone's challenge.
Yeah.
It was such an unknown. Number one, it's shut down.
Yeah.
You would think there wouldn't be any shootings at all, but there were some. But, we didn't know what was going to happen. And it was real political. It was hot topic, fiery. And, the pandemic was challenging. But then for us, we were like, wow, everything started going up. There was still an uptick in membership, because people were scared. And and we had to let them know that we were still there for them.
With the riots
That's
going
right.
on and all that. I mean, I remember California, they had 2-block line around gun stores. Mm-hmm. I mean, there were so many sales. It was, we skyrocketed during that time.
Yeah, and that too, with pandemic, it brought on, like Mike's saying, like, what's it, 3 to 5 million new gun owners?
Yeah.
I mean, it was huge. No one expected that explosion. But then it also brought another challenge, which made us really positioned to do some good for the people, and that is new gun owners.
Yeah.
Those who don't know, because everybody, caters to the tactical guys and the SWAT guys and the police. But when it comes down to catering to the new gun owners, we were in a great position to do that because we had a different path.
Yeah.
The
training you talked about earlier, that was our lane. Like, we stayed in that lane. And everything that we were talking was outside of the tactical. It was more practical.
That's right.
So, that was, and we had talked about that, before 2020, we talked about, how do we reach the people who are on the fence? Because there's a lot of people on the fence at that time. And 2020, they came off the fence.
That's right.
And I think looking back at that, where we look and find ourselves right now today, I think we're right back in that same position where we have a lot more people on the fence, and we have a lot of people who are seeing things differently in our society, politically, but also in dealing with our rights, the right to own a firearm. So I think I have a feeling that 24 and 25 are going to be another year where we see a lot more people come off that fence. Yes. I hope so. And the big thing I would want to do is be able to just continue doing what we're doing, is staying in that lane. Yeah. Because those people who are coming in, the new gun owners, it's uncomfortable to carry a firearm. Yeah. And I can say that, I carried a firearm for 20 years, and when I left, I didn't carry as much. And when I started carrying again, it took me a while, even with my experience and being involved in a shooting and running entries. It took a while for me to get back into that comfort zone. Yeah. And so, so I know how that can feel. Not just the discomfort in carrying one, but the discomfort in, in having one and knowing what could happen. And, so, that's what I would like to see is, if we do have that number come off the fence in the next year, just be able to continue to provide what we've been providing for them, and maybe even more, really focus on new gun owners if that happens. So,
how do you help these first-time gun owners and new carriers, concealed carriers, navigate all the choices in the industry?
Let me jump first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and again, like we watched this since the beginning. We've had, some smaller players come into the space that dissolve out. We had a huge one come in and model itself wrong, bring attention to the industry, and then dissolve out because it too was not operating properly. We knew that it was never important to us the number of members, because we, coming from law enforcement, knew that if you deliver service and care properly, they will come. And that's what we did. And that's the reason why we never got into the space of giving away pickup trucks and magazine subscriptions and guns every week. We never got into that area because we want to be those responsible for, really being there for you and giving you what you truly deserve, which is peace of mind, that you have a sharp team behind you that's going to be with you not only after the smoke clears, but beyond, and build a relationship with you. Because we saw it as family. When you join us, it's family like we are when we're policemen involved in shootings. We come in and we put our arms around you. Some of us stand in front of you, some stand behind you, and some stand beside you. We cover you with all of our resources and our smarts and experience, and we push through this volatile not industry, but this volatile process in the criminal justice system, and we help you succeed. So, like for us, looking at the new players coming in, they're making a lot of noise. There's a lot of infighting that we don't get involved in. We'd rather be the adults in the room. It's because, we're going to sustain, what we have, because we are the most professional group out there. We let the rest of them fight. We let them do their thing. And there's just, what's ridiculous to us when we look at it, it's like, okay, we're all on the same team, actually. Mm-hmm. And that's why it was important when Kent stated it's not competitors. We're all service providers. Everyone just does things a little bit different. Now, we're proud that, our model has sustained a lot, ups and downs, and we have a strong model. Like we are truly leaders in this space, knowing the importance of response with the critical response team, not having any caps. The importance, more so than anything, is staying out of prison. And that's the reason why we team up with other, affiliates like, Andrew Branca, who kind of is aligned with us in reference to the information that he gives you to stay out of prison. What we do with Don and Sean Vincent, all of those things, learning from the mistakes of others is so important. So we're not worried about these other groups that are coming forth saying that all you need is this, or all you need is that. You need the entire package, and that's what we have.
Yeah, one thing you said too is we're not interested in numbers. And honestly, I can tell you this. There's, what now, 30 million concealed carriers in the U.S.? 25. We do not want everyone.
Sorry, the permit is about low 20s, but total, now constitutional carry in 28 states, you could have 30 to 40 million.
Yeah, with the constitutional carry of that 30 million, we don't want all those members. There are, and we've said this, the whole industry, there is enough for the whole industry to go around. We want the people who are going to be a good fit for us. We know what we're a good fit for.
That's right.
And we want the people who are going to be a good fit for us. And that's actually come up in conversations before of, how do we get that? How do we market that? But that's a good point. We're not interested in being, the number one company because we have this many members. We're interested in just staying in our lane and being the number one company at what we do.
That's right. And then, bravo to Kent Brown, he came up with a campaign this year about, CCW say our members are smarter. We're not playing around with you. Like, this is a real thing. Our members are smarter because they do their research. They don't fall for the okie doke. They don't fall for the bells and whistles and the glitter and, the distractions from what you truly need. Our members are smarter because they take their time and they understand that it's almost like choosing a spouse. You can't just jump in bed with the first person that you meet. It is like you have to take your time, really know that you are aligned with this group, that who's going to be the best person for you, and that's what we are. So those who sit back and watch the ones that market the most and chase you around on emails and do all these things, all this trickery, don't fall for that. And if you do, go with them, because you're also the guy that says, I'd rather be, judged by 12 than carried by 6, or, I'm going to put them in the backyard and shoot and pull them inside the house. Those guys, y'all have a space. It's not with us. Like, we want to be honest that we really want true responsible gun owners, because we're not playing around when we say that we're going to take care of you, but you have to take care of you.
After 13 years, and we still have thousands of members back from those first few years, do you have a message for the members today?
I do. I would like to say, first of all, and you just brought it up, we have, thousands of members from those first few years. And for those people who took that leap of faith with us because we were new in the industry. People were calling us crazy. People were saying it can't be done. You know, and for the people who actually went with us, I just want to say, you know, a huge thank you, because you guys are the ones that really built this company.
That's right.
And it was a you know, it was a leap of faith at that time, because everyone was saying we didn't know what we're doing and we're crazy and we can't do what we're doing. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, especially to all of our members, but especially those ones who took that leap, you know, early on.
Yeah, because like Mike said, there's thousands that are still have been with. Some have been with us since 2011, and like we're proud of that. You know, we still get calls. God, Mr. White from up in Tulsa, that Milford White.
Oh, yeah.
And he just calls us just to say he's so happy every year. He's been with us in 2011, and we love to get those calls. Like, we really do see you guys as family, and you know, like it's a heartfelt thank you, because you know, like we're all in this together, and you know, and like all other families, like everybody doesn't always see the same. You know, sometimes, you know, we try to guard you guys against pulling your firearm out too much on road rage and stuff like that, because that gets you in trouble. You know, it'll cost you sometime, but like we still stand behind you even when you make mistakes. You know, and we've had a lot of deadly force incidents in the past 13 years, a lot of shooting incidents that didn't, you know, come to death. Many activations of the critical response team. Mm-hmm. You know, we get out there and everyone that, you know, they say the same thing. They did not expect to have this type of service. And we're just proud to, you know, be there for you. And like Mike said about leap of faith on us, you know, we have a leap of faith, you know, geared back toward you. Like, you come here, you call our number and talk to Don West, we move. We don't sit around and try to wait on some insurance company to make a decision whether or not you're gonna be covered. We got your back. Somebody else stole that from us early on, but we got your back, and it's okay. You know that, you know, and we can all share it. But the bottom line is, we're the guys that are going to be there for you. You know, our team is serious, and we care for you, and we thank you guys for 13 years of support, and we look forward to the future with you, because, like I said, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for a long time for you, taking care of you. I'm so proud of Mike and Kyle and Kent and our entire group. You know, Don and Gary and all the guys, Chris, our new response person. And like, we're just so happy that you're here for us. And, you know, take care of yourselves out there. Think about what we say. You know, hopefully we don't meet in person, because we do, you're in trouble. But understand that we're going to be there for you in your time of need when you have your most traumatic time in your life.
Yeah, one thing that people don't see is the relationship we have with the people who we defend. You know, Steven Maddox, we get Christmas cards every year from Steven Maddox. We keep up with him, John Weish, all these members that we've defended. I mean, we talk to them all the time. They come into Oklahoma City sometimes. They've been part of our, you know, they've come on to do workshops and videos and stuff. So, you know, it's not a thing where, you know, if you do find yourself unfortunate to have to use our service, it's just going to be that we're servicing you and that it's over. Mm-hmm. That relationship goes on, you know. Yeah,
and that's why I say family.
As long as we're here.
Yep. So guys, we appreciate your time, and I love sitting down with Mike. We haven't done this in a long time. This is great to tell the story from beginning to end, and be safe out there.